Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C. Now, we have to call your attention to Surviving the Cataclysm, your guide through the worst financial crisis in human history, the one indispensable book for the current world economic depression. And when you get a fall of world trade by something approaching 40% in the first quarter of this year, and then indications that the fall is continuing with a leading exporter, one of the biggest world exporters, Germany, probably the best barometer, down 1/3 in the month of April. This means it is a world economic depression, and this validates the thesis of Surviving the Cataclysm, the first edition of which dates back to 1999, and the crisis around the Asian contagion, so-called, really a dollar contagion, the Russian state bankruptcy, the GKO crisis, and the long-term capital management hedge fund blow-up, which really told you everything you needed to know about how the world financial system was coming down. There were no subprime mortgages in 1998-99, not a big factor. But what did it was long-term capital management. This is all described in some detail in Surviving the Cataclysm. So I urge everybody to get a copy. We went through, earlier in the broadcast, a 9-point program for California, and of course with the exception of that maglev provisions, for some states it will be a maglev, for some states it might be something else, depending on the immediate needs of the state, a 9-point program that any state can use to at least mitigate and ameliorate the consequences of this depression. All of that presupposes the general program of wiping out derivatives, stopping foreclosures, re-regulating markets, outlawing adjustable rate mortgages, seizing the Federal Reserve, and issuing 0% federal credit for production only, and then the massive program of infrastructure, the 1,000 hospitals, the 50 to 100,000 miles of maglev rail, the 100 high-temperature pebble bed fourth-generation nuclear reactors, rebuilding the interstate highway system, rebuilding all the water systems on the model of that water tunnel number 3 in New York, the $5 to $6 billion one. That's just one city. Got to apply that everywhere. Fourth, federal emergency relief. You've got to protect your workforce. You've got to have unemployment fully funded. You've got to have food stamps, SNAP fully funded. You've got to have all kinds of social programs, Medicare, Medicaid have got to be fully funded. You've got to increase the Social Security pension because that's all people will have. The 401ks are gone either through a deflationary crash or more likely hyperinflation coming up right now. So this is all discussed in Surviving the Cataclysm, your guide through the worst financial crisis in human history, the long-awaited second edition as a paper book for the first time in history, made its debut in the past week. The first paper copies have shipped. If you bought one on the advanced order where you got your electronic copy from Progressive Press and you didn't get the paper copy, do contact progressivepress.com, www.progressivepress.com. You can email info@progressivepress.com and get your paper copy. But they should have all arrived, and the big question now is people who didn't order it and now should, because you get your paper copy right away. Order from Progressive Press. If it's more convenient for you to order from Amazon.com, you can order from Amazon.com. It's up there, along with my other books, that is to say, Obama, the Postmodern Coup, and with the relevance of that we're going to go through in just a minute, because that's the people power coup or color revolution brought home to the United States. What Obama and Brasinki and Steve Clemens at the New American Foundation think they're doing in Iran today, Friday, the 12th of June, 2009. So that's Obama, the Postmodern Coup. That's available at Amazon.com. And Obama, the Unauthorized Biography, Barack H. Obama, the Unauthorized Biography, also at Amazon.com. And that, of course, is the union-busting profile of Obama, the strikebreaker, the scab, the union buster, using left cover and that's the key, in the tradition of the foundations from which he derives, right? His mother, an official of the Ford Foundation, worked for Geithner's father at the Ford Foundation, subverting Indonesia, bringing the apparatus of usury and microloans into Indonesia. And then Obama, of course, working for the Gamaliel Foundation, the Joyce Foundation, the Woods Fund, the Annenberg Foundation, closely allied to Bernardine Dohrn, weatherman terrorist, bomber from the 1960s, who got a MacArthur Foundation grant for the juvenile justice system of Chicago. Suffer the little children not to come unto Bernardine Dohrn and Bill Ayers. So those are the three books. Surviving the Cataclysm, the most urgent. Get it from progressivepress.com and or Amazon.com. And then Obama, the Postmodern Coup, and Barack H. Obama, the Unauthorized Biography. This is all indispensable reading. You cannot make sense out of day-to-day events without these three books in particular. And naturally, we also want to recommend Alex Jones's Obama Deception, and the sequel to that, which is going to come out now in the late summer, Obama Deception, on the DVD front, one of the most effective documentaries in the political realm in many, many years. So now let's look at, in the brief time remaining, the international picture. A color revolution in Iran. Again this morning, Friday, June 12th, Obama comes out and says, we are excited to see a robust debate going on in Iran. In other words, he thinks he's got a successful color revolution going, and the question would be to kick out Ahmadinejad, the mercurial and reckless demagogue, because that's, of course, what he is, and replace him with Mousavi, the less hardline and presumably Western subverted candidate, because they don't do this on the basis of humanitarian commitments. This is pure power. We noticed last week we had a seminar at the Rand Corporation, led by none other than Zbignew Brasinki, attended by Flint Leverett, part of the Iran crowd, with his wife Judy Mann, I think her name is. So they're over there talking about the Iranian elections and how Brasinki thinks that, if you read between the lines, because Brasinki is more cautious than any neocon. He doesn't come out and tell you even what a neocon would. But Brasinki makes clear that Iran can become an asset for the U.S. in the Middle East. This is what's being offered to them. The grand bargain with Iran is you become a U.S. puppet and spear point and continental dagger in the same way that India has, and we'll use you against the Arabs, against the Pakistanis, above all, against the enemy to the north. And Brasinki, in his appearance at the Rand Corporation, even talked about his famous meeting in Algiers, November 1979, which is written up in Obama, the Postmodern Coup. It's funny, one publisher, a foreign publisher, considering the book, eventually published it, said, can you really prove that Brasinki met with the Iranian leaders in Algiers in 1979? Yes, we can, because Brasinki has now confessed this in public after Robert Gates called attention to it in a speech a couple of months ago. So this is now November 1979, the Algerian National Day, Algiers, Algeria. Brasinki comes with Gates and Jessica Tuckman, I think, in his entourage, and meets with Iranian Prime Minister Bazargan and, above all, Iranian Foreign Minister Yazdi. And he offers the continuation of military deliveries to Iran, what you might call Iran-Contra, against the enemy to the north, against the Soviet Union then and the Russians now. That's the goal. We'll be back in a minute.